Hey, okay, we're live. And today we're working on the eyes. So I'm adding the eyes as I promised last week. But I don't know how many of you have seen the tutorial on my YouTube channel. I have these I think 70-minute tutorial on my YouTube channel which shows how to make a realistic human eyeball in ZBrush from scratch without using any blueprints, etc. So if you follow this, if you want to just do everything yourself without using any textures, blueprints like texture and XYZ, if you want to just manually sculpt and paint the eyeball, you can follow this tutorial. It's not that complicated, but today I'm going to use maps from texture and XYZ. So here's the map. It's for the iris, so for the brown iris, which comes from texture and XYZ. It's the albedo, this one is the bump, and this one's a displacement. And for the geometry, I have this eyeball that I'm going to share with you after this live. I'm uploading the FBX file for the eyes to Google Drive. I mean, if I forget, please remind me, but here's the FBX file and I'm importing to my scene. And here it is. Hey Arif, hey Trivo, hey Alessio, thank you. Hey Arif, Aida, Shivak, have seen your work on COD cinematics. Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool. Hey Mahdis, flamenco. Okay, so this is the eyeball and it's the geometry. There is, let me just isolate so you can see. Okay, we have one left and right, and each one is separated into two different geometries, one for Sclera and Cornea, another one for iris. So for the iris, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to click on UV editor and I'm just taking a screenshot of the UV layout of the iris. So if you click on this UV snapshot, it asks you to specify the path, which I'm just using the same path as my project, and also the file name, iris underline UV dot. You can use PNG, JPG, doesn't matter. Let's use PNG. For the size, just 2048 is enough. Lock aspect ratio, anti-alias lines, yes. And apply and close. And it takes this a screenshot. which we are going to use inside Photoshop. So this is a UV layout of the iris geometry. And this is a texture from texture in XYZ, which I'm going to copy, just Control A, Control C, and then pasting it here. You can resize to fit the screen. Or let's do something else. Let's, before resizing, let's copy bump and also displacement. Okay, let's rename albedo, bump, and this. And this one is UV. Okay, so I'm selecting all the layers for the texture and XYZ textures, and then right click, click on convert to a smart object. Why I'm doing that? Because if you convert your image to a smart object and then resize and then change the settings, it doesn't affect the quality of that image. So that's why before resizing I converted to a smart object. So now let's resize and let's just see if we can just do our best to fit the UV layout. I also want to thank you for allowing us to get a glimpse into your workflow every time. Thank you, Alex. Hey, Nitish, Lacio, I'm working on a realistic model for the first time and I'm stuck with XGen look. Every shade I try to make looks fake. Can't wait to follow this step in the live session to get unstuck. We also have a Discord server. If you join the Discord server, you can just ask other members, and I also do my best if I can to answer your questions. Your recent work with Jade looks awesome. Thank you, Pixel Oracle. Hey Jalali, thank you. Ivan, hey. Hey RG Arts, hey Digital Crystal. Okay, so let's the UV layout is hard to see. Let me just add a color overlay so we can see it more clearly. And then let's change the smart object to albedo so it's easier to see. Alright, so we have to use free transform. If you right click on your smart object and click on free transform and then right click again, click on warp, so you have this grid. You can basically warp your image to fit any shape you want. Okay, to add more lines to the grid, you can just here change the grid. And okay, this is too much. 4, no, not 4 to 4. Let's change to 3 by 3. Okay, this is much easier to change. And again, if you want to just paint the texture yourself, you can follow the tutorial on my YouTube channel, which is just your choice if you want to use texture in XYZ. This is my approach, but it's up to you. Can I make the hair and face like this so real in Blender? Yeah, why not? But Blender doesn't have, I mean, Arnold doesn't have a Blender version as far as I know. So you can't use Arnold render. If you want to use Blender, you have to use a different render engine. Okay, I think this is good. I think this works pretty much. Okay, let's export. Let's save before. I'm gonna save the PSD format of this setup, so if you want to change anything later, we don't have to do everything from scratch. How to use ZRAP? You can go back and watch my previous tutorials, previous live streams. Okay, then let's flatten image and save again, but this time in TIF format. I'm renaming it to Iris Albedo. And inside the source images folder, if you remember, this was the folder that we put all the textures for the project. Image compression, you can zip it if you want, but right now I don't want to waste any time, so I'm not compressing. Let's also export the displacement map. Same way, just Iris, disp, TIF, and alright, let's go back to Maya and see what the textures look like in the render. I remember you wanted to get into animation, just wondering, did you do it? Did I? I don't remember. I mean, I did some short animations, just it's not, I didn't want to become an animator, just I wanted to test and see if I can animate some of my models, which I did. Hey, Monday, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. Jamming to music, yeah, cool. All right, let's see the model. And I think the eyeballs should be bigger. Before we get to textures, I think the eyeballs are probably too small. So let's... Because the distance between the left and right eyeball should be a third eyeball. So let's change the scale to 1.05. And let's reposition. Okay, just trying to make sure that eyelids line up with the exterior of the eyeball. All right, I think it looks good. So let's just go ahead and work on, hey, Jaws 0, your portraits look great, thank you. I will join the Discord, but I think I will wait your live session to understand better. I mean, if you wanna learn the shading process, you have to go back and watch my previous live stream. That's where I explained how to make your Arnold shaders. Alright, so let's go ahead and open our Hypershade and let's make a new AI standard surface. And by the way, this AI doesn't have anything to do with the AI. It's just it's for Arnold. It's short for, I'm not sure if short for Arnold or something else, but it's called AI standard surface. So let's rename it to Iris Matte. And Iris Matte out for the shading group. Okay, let's again use the preset for the skin because the subsurface scattering is pretty much the same. So I'm just gonna use the skin preset once more. And let's add a file texture, a file node, source images, and iris albedo TIF. Also, let's go to render settings and turn off in the Arnold tab. Let's go to textures and turn off auto convert texture to TX, because it just makes a bunch of dumb files, and right now it's not that much useful, so I'm just gonna turn it off. Okay, for the iris albedo, let's connect that to subsurface color, and let's assign this texture to both left and right iris. So just right click, assign material to selection. Hey Ali Reza, do you enjoy modeling since it takes quite some time? Yeah, if I didn't, I wouldn't last this long. You have to enjoy it. Alright, let's turn off Sclera for now and see what it looks like inside the render. I have you on 4K using AI. Yeah, cool. Have you considered doing grooming on Houdini instead of using XGen? No, because I'm pretty happy with XGen. Okay, let's change some of the settings for the I think when I render, my stream becomes kind of laggy, so I'm not sure what I should do. Should I? Yeah, I think it's because of the render. Let me see if I change it to GPU, because right now it's rendering on CPU. Let me change to GPU and see if it helps. Hey Yasin. Probably yes. Yeah, that's my guess too. So let's try GPU. Let me know if I'm still lagging. Right now it's rendering, so Technicolor shut down. Any take on it? I wasn't really familiar with them. I mean, it's sad because there were so many talented artists working there, but it was obvious. I mean, I knew that there were going to be more layoffs, and there is going to be more. It's not, they're not done yet. I mean, there's going to be more layoffs coming this year and even next year. I'm guessing. Alright, let's change some of the settings for the render. First of all, the specularity should be pretty low, like 0.1, and the roughness should be maybe 98. IOR, I'm not sure, but because the specularity is too low, it doesn't really make that much difference. Subsurface should be 1. The scale should be pretty low, like 0.01. Random walk version 2. Radius maybe pink, something like that. And now let's see. Okay, looks a lot better. Codes, we don't want any codes. Sheen, sometimes it looks better when you add sheen, but right now I'm not gonna mess with it. I have a question. Can we render transparent objects with Arnold render GPU? Yes, why not? I can only get it with CPU. Are you sure? Because it works. I mean, maybe you're not using the latest version, I'm not sure, but it works on both GPU and CPU. Alright, so that's for the iris. For the sclera, you can just use the same method that I showed in this tutorial. So basically, the painting for a sclera is not that complicated. You can just use ZBrush and use the method that I've shown in this tutorial. There are some alphas that you can use to add blood vessels around the sclera, which I'm going to share with you in the same folder. So you can see that I'm using those brushes. So I'm not gonna just repeat the same process because it's pretty much the same. It's the same boring painting and adding the blood vessels and everything. And then you export your map from ZBrush, and this is the map that I've exported for the sclera. You can see if I zoom in, there are all the veins and vessels. So for the material, just like the same, let me rename the file node to iris albedo, and you can also just delete this place 2D texture because we're not making any changes to the UV, so you can just go ahead and delete that. Okay, let's make a standard surface. This time I'm naming it Sclera Matte. And let's get rid of, maybe let's just okay, this is a Sclera and another file node. source images, Sclera, albedo, TIF, and connect it to subsurface color. And again, just use a preset for skin. Let's select the mesh and assign Sclera material to selection. All right. Ali Reza, salam. I just made some eyes following your tutorial. It was great. Thank you, David. Arnold CPU or GPU, which should we use? Any difference apart from time for rendering? It depends on your specifications. If you have a powerful GPU, then it's probably best if you use a GPU version. If not, I mean, there are some minor features that the GPU version doesn't support, but for the most part it's just the same. It's unbelievable. Every time I try it gives me a black background. I wonder if it's because of the image format. Do I need to get I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, the transparent objects. Maybe you should, one thing you can check, go to your render settings and in the Arnold tab, checking your ray depth, if you have enough depth for transparency, because if you don't, that could be an issue. Some shaders have some issue with GPU, just that. Not shaders, there are some procedural texture nodes that the GPU doesn't support. Alright, so this is the material for the Sclera. Let's change some of the settings. Specularity should be 1. Roughness, let's change it to 0.1 or even 0.05. IOR, I think it should be around 1.5. I'm not sure, I have to check. Subsurface 1, radius. Let's change it to some reddish pink, and random walk version 2. Scale should be the same as the skin. If you remember, for the skin we use 0.12, so I'm going to use the same for the Sclera as well. Alright, so we have to make another material for the cornea. So let's go ahead and let me change the name to Sclera albedo. Let's make a new material. Name this Cornea. And this time you can use the preset for glass. If you click on presets, there's this glass that you can use because it's pretty similar to Cornea. So let me select the same mesh again and assign material to selection. When you face an issue, where do you find the answer usually beside YouTube and Google? Like asking someone in Reddit. No, I don't. I mean, sometimes I use answers that are already on Reddit, but you can use ChatGPT. It's pretty good nowadays. You can just ask any questions you have and you will get the answer pretty quickly. Or you can also go and read the documentation on, I mean, if you, for example, if you want to learn Maya, if you have an issue, you can go and read the documentation on Autodesk website. Alright, so this is the material for the cornea. Let's change the roughness to 0.05 again. For the cornea, it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to do any tricks. Also for the sclera, I forgot to turn off code. Okay, so because we have the same mesh for cornea and sclera, they're connected. We need to make a layer shader so we can connect these two materials into one shader. So in your hypershade, if you go to Arnold section shader, there is this AI layer shader, which is exactly what we need. So I'm going to connect the sclera to input number 1, cornea to input number 2, and then let's use one of the shading groups to connect this one. I'm going to name this I matte. So the layer 1 is sclera, layer 2 is cornea. You have to enable, remember that. And then we have to assign it again. Let's select sclera and then assign iron material to both selections. But right now, if I render, it would only show one of the shaders, which is the second one. But to use both shaders, what you need to do is you have to use a mask for the second one, for the second one, so it doesn't completely replace the first shader. So if you look back, let me show you the UV editor, and let me click on the sclera. This is the UV for sclera. You can see it's a circular UV, which we can take advantage of and use the ramp node as a mask. So if you go to Arnold section and just search for ramp, R-A-M-P, you can find this ramp RGB. You can also use the float, but RGB is easier to see what's going on. So let me just connect this ramp directly to the surface shader, so I can show you what the ramp looks like. Right now it looks white, but if you change the slider, you can see now. So you can see the ramp right now is vertical, which is exactly what it says in type. Type V means vertical. U is horizontal, and then we have diagonal, radial, circular, box. So what we want to use is a circular ramp. So this is a green area, this is the black area, this one is the white area, and this is as big as approximately same size as the iris. Okay, so I'm going to reconnect the IMAT to shader, and then we can use this ramp now as mask for cornea. You have to click mix to, which means that we have to change black and white. You can just click on each and change white to black and black to white, and now you can see that the mask is working as expected. But we need to change the radius to make sure that okay, I think it looks okay. It doesn't look great, but it looks okay. Why can't we change diffuse specular other sample in Arnold? You mean Arnold GPU? Because that's the algorithm is different in GPU, and that's the way it works. I don't know the coding and the technical reason why not, but it's just the way GPU rendering works. AA sampling 20. I mean, for GPU 20 is not that high. For CPU is super high, but for GPU is pretty normal. I have learned how to 3D model a cornea by your previous tutorial on YouTube, I guess 4 years ago. That's great. Do you make the eyes? Yes, I'm working on the eyes. Amazing, thank you, Theo. Alright, so, and now that's how you make the shaders for iris, sclera, cornea. But we haven't added any displacement. We need to go back to, let me change the ramp name to iRamp. Alright, let's go back to Iris Mat. And if you remember how to add displacement node, you need to go to Maya and just go to displacement, click on displacement, delete the blue node, we don't need that. Just connect the output to displacement shader. Let's rename this to Iris, this. Let's add another file node, and let's rename this to iris disp tx source images and iris disp tif. And if you remember, I told you that because I'm using ACES, if you use ACES, you have to, for displacements and black and white textures, basically you have to change the color space to raw, which I have a script that with one click it changes the color space of the file node from sRGB to raw. Okay, let's connect the single channel to displacement and let's render. Okay, because let me show you the displacement. This is a displacement map. You can see that the base color for the displacement is not black, it's gray. And because of that, we need to go to click on the model, go to Shape tab, Arnold, go to Displacement Attributes, and change the Sclera zero value to 0.5. Let's try 0.5. You just have to change it until it looks correct. 0.4, 0.3, I think 0.5 is good. Let's change the height to 0.1. Also the subdivision, remember that you need to turn on the subdivision for the displacement to work properly. Let's change the type, if you remember, because I mean for the iris it doesn't make that much difference, but generally for lower subdivision levels you need to use linear. It doesn't make that much difference. Let's just adaptive space, change it to object, and UV smoothing, we don't want any UV smoothing. Smooth tangents, yes. Okay, we have something going on. Let's zoom in and see. Let me also let's just hide the model so we can focus on the eyeball. Okay, so basically we need more subdivision. Change it to 4 and let's also turn on auto bump. I'm still not sure if the GPU version completely supports auto bump or not. I assume it does because let's turn it off. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just turning it on. So in case if I change it to CPU, it just works properly. Okay. So it's looking good, but I think it's too strong. Let's change the height to 0.05 and see. Yeah, I think it looks better. I hope I'm not lagging. Which GPU are you using? It's a 3090. Have you uploaded any start to end tutorials or any master classes? You're watching the workshop. If you go on my YouTube channel, you can find the previous live sessions, which we started working on the model from the very beginning. Please consider making YouTube tutorials as well, since live is not as compact than edited. So the reason that I decided to live stream instead of making tutorials, because exactly the editing takes so much time, and I honestly don't have time to spend on editing for now, at least. Maybe later if I have more free time, but right now this is the best I can do. Okay, so that's the displacement for the iris. Let's change the same settings for the left iris. Zero 5.5. Okay. Okay, now it's time for the Sclera. For the Sclera, we also have a displacement map, which is pretty subtle. It just adds some bump on top of the blood vessels, so you have some variation, and the surface doesn't look completely flat. Okay, let's change this name to I max out. Let's add a displacement node connected to displacement shader. Let's rename it to I. Well, let's just have a Sclera disp. Let's add a file node. Connect a single channel RGB. Let's rename this to Sclera disp TX. Source images Sclera disp TIF. Let's change the color space, if you're using ACES, to raw. And let's see what it looks like. Change the light so it's not a square. Okay, later. How much money you charge for portraits, sir? That's not the type of question you ask someone publicly, sorry. Claudio, thank you. Just subscribe to your channel, thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Art Sahib. So, again, we need to change the zero value to 0.5, or maybe because the gray this time is not the gray is different. This is the iris which is more whitish. This one is darker gray, so probably you need to use a zero value for like 0.4, something like that. Let's turn on subdivision and smooth, adaptive object, linear. The height is definitely too strong. Change the iterations to 3 or 5 or 4. Don't go too high with the iterations because it might crash your PC. Alright, so you can see it's clear that the displacement is way too intense. So let's change the height to 0.1. If I zoom in, you can see that those veins are pretty clear, but still this displacement is too strong. Let's change it to 0.05. Still too much. Change it to 0.02. Okay, I think from distance, I mean from a close shot it looks too strong, but if you zoom out, I think it looks fine. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Is majority of your work people approaching you, or do you contact potential clients for work? No, I never contact anyone. But my clients send me emails and that's it, pretty much. Okay, for the left one, let's use the same settings. Iterations, I think, yeah, 3. Object, linear, smooth, 0.02, 0.4, I think. Yeah. And let's turn on auto bump. Okay, let's turn on the model and see if the size of the iris looks correct. Yeah, I think it looks fine. I think the skin shader has codes because it looks too shiny. Let me just turn off the codes. What kind of use case are these portraits used for clients? You can there are some of my, I've posted some of my commissions on my Instagram page. If you go, you can see some of the use cases for VFX, games, commercials, prints, etc. Okay, now that's how you add the eyes to your model. If you guys don't have any questions, I think that's enough for today. And next time we are going to work on the hair shader, and I will show you how to add gray hair on top of your exchange description. CPU fans going jet mode. It's a GPU, not CPU, but yeah, it's pretty loud. Thanks for doing the streams. They are really informational, and title on the videos does help to navigate and follow up for specific content. Yeah, thank you, Amish. Alright guys, so I'm going to share with you the model for the eyes, and also the alpha to paint your Sclera maps. But I'm not going to share the textures because first of all it's not free, it's texture in XYZ, so I'm not allowed to share with you. You can go on the website if you wanna purchase their textures, or if you want to just manually paint your own textures, you can follow my tutorial on YouTube. But hey, Aman, thank you, Arif, thank you everybody for tuning in. It was great. I think we did great, and tomorrow or next week, I'm not sure, we're going to work on hair shader. So that's it. Have a great night or day wherever you are, and I will see you next time.